Hey, welcome. This is Chapter 6 in our Exploring Adobe Photoshop CS6 with CC Enhancements textbook, and we're working with image correction in this particular chapter. And I will be starting you out with the exercise that's ultimately due as your skills review, along with the questions, of course. So let me demo a little bit of it, and then you will get going on your own. We're going to open up 6-1, and then we're going to do a file save as. We're going to save as 6L1 underscore and your name. You want to make sure that the Essentials workspace is selected. That's over to the side here. I'm going to try to make this just a little bit smaller so we can, so I can have a little bit more space on my desktop. We're going to reset Essentials. I'm going to click and drag this corner up just a bit, and then I'm going to do Command 0 to fit that image in that tiny little space that we have available to work. Then we're going to go to View and Actual Pixels. Since I don't have actual pixels, I'll go to 100%. Holy mackerel, I don't like that. I'm going to leave it where I have it at 22%, but you certainly can work, since you'll be working your full screen, you can certainly work it with actual pixels or 100%. This is a photograph that's taken of Troy Toland, Tony's youngest brother, sitting in a Formula 4 race car. We're going to take it through the image correction steps. The first step, which is scanning and importing, has already been completed. Now we're going to resize it. The scanned image is in RGB color mode, even though it was originally a black and white photo. So we're going to make it into a grayscale image so that seeing tonal changes and contrast is easier. In order to do that, we're going to go up to Image, and we're going to go down to Mode, and then we're going to go over to Grayscale. Dialog box asks if you would like to discard all color information. We're going to say don't flatten, and then we are going to discard the color information. And rest assured that you have a backup copy of the color version in the lesson files online if something happens and you need to get back there. All right, another option for making more precise adjustments to the blacks, whites, and grays of an image is Image Adjustments Black and White. This adjustment leaves the image in RGB color mode while offering different photographic filters and color channel adjustments. Using the black and white adjustment option to retain color information even though the image appears black and white, this is what they're showing you in image 6-12. All right, now we're going to go to Image and Image Size. And you'll see that the photo's resolution is currently set to 600 pixels per inch. This resolution is just crazy. No printing process requires that kind of detail. So go to Image, Image Size, and uncheck the Resample Image option. And enter 150 pixels per inch for the resolution. And I would never do this without, again, retaining an original copy that had that high of resolution, because even though the textbook indicates that you may never need that for printing, I'm of the mind that more detail is always a good thing. And you'll see that the overall print proportions, which is the actual body or the actual size of the image, increase. And we're going to click OK. Now we're going to go to View, and we're going to go to Print Size, to see the actual dimensions of the photograph if it were to be printed. And then we're going to go to View Actual Pixels to see the size of the image on screen. It's almost twice as big because the screen view is at about 72 pixels per inch. I'm going to cancel that out. I'm going to reduce that back down so we can see the entire image. Now, as you can see, the image is crooked on the canvas, which can happen in the scanning process when the image is not properly aligned on the scanning bed. So we're going to select the Crop tool in the Tools panel. That's this tool. And then in the Options panel, we're going to select Straighten and then click and drag along the bottom edge of the photo. We're going to click on Straighten, and then we're going to click and drag along the bottom edge of the photo. Now Photoshop's going to recognize that this line should be horizontal and rotate it accordingly, which is exactly what it did. After selecting Straighten in the Options panel, click and drag the Crop tool along any horizontal line, what we just did. And now you want to use any of the 8 crop handles to resize the area to be preserved. So you want to see figure 616, and you will also want to note that in the Layers panel, this layer is now named Crop Preview, which it is in mine. And I'm going to click and drag these handles in to get it to where it's just the image itself without the white border. And actually they've pulled this in quite a bit, so I'm going to pull in this side again. And now the focus is more on the boy's face. So I'm going to double click, or of course I'm going to double click. I'm going to hit return, and there it is. The crop and the straightening both have been accepted. Again, we're going to do a file save, Command or Control S. Save as if you haven't done that yet, and then make sure that your name is included in this version. All right. Now the next step is actually we're going to choose Image Adjustments and Levels. We're going to go back over here to the image, and I'm going to make this just a little bit smaller. Okay, again, go up to the menu items and go to Image, Adjustments, and Levels. And you'll see this histogram in the dialog box pops up. You want to make sure that the preview choice is selected, or the preview box is checked. And we click on Auto, and you'll see that the image automatically jumps to that auto adjustment. And if you decide you don't like that, then you're going to hold down the Alt if you're on a PC, Option if you're on a Mac, and note that the Cancel button changes to a Reset button. We're going to click that, and then we're going to click OK. Now we haven't made any changes. We're going to try a different method this time, adding an adjustment layer to make the corrections. Now, an adjustment layer is a great thing. It allows you to preview the changes. It doesn't permanently impact or alter the original photo. And so anytime you're considering a change like this, I would always opt for trying it with the adjustment panel first. All right, so we're going to go under Layer, and then we're going to go to New Adjustment Layer, and then we're going to go to Levels. We're going to keep the Levels 1 layer name and then click OK. And you'll see that the same histogram panel opens. It's next to the overall adjustment panel. And then that you'll see in the layers that we have add an adjustment layer as well. All right, and you'll look at the far left marker at the bottom of the graph, and that indicates the end range for the darkest, or the shadow pixels in the image. All of these represent the pixels, all of the pixels in your image. The far right marker indicates the end range for the lightest of the pixels, and then this in the middle indicates that these are where you would adjust the chromatic gray pixels in between. The higher the graph in a particular area, the more instances of that particular shade in this image. You can see that as it comes through here. All right, now we're going to adjust the levels by moving the shadow, midtone, and highlight markers. I'm going to move this just a little bit over here and move the adjustment layer out of the way so you can see it. And then we're going to move these, it's a little bit too dark. Move these little markers on the histogram until we get it to about where we want it. Quick way to find a good tonal balance in the image is to move the black or the shadow pixel marker on the histogram inward until it aligns with the first vertical, which is what we've got right here. This would be the first vertical. And then you typically do the same thing on the white marker. And you can see again the changes occurring directly on the document. And then you might also want to mess around with the output levels here. The grayscale ramp at the bottom of the panel. You can move the shadow slider, the one on the left, to about 21. Which lightens the image up just a bit overall. And then in the layers panel, notice that the adjustment layer you've created is automatically placed above the Troy layer. Which it is. And the nice thing about this, again, an adjustment layer, is that you can, see if I can get rid of this. You can also turn off that adjustment so you can see the impact of the changes that we made in that particular adjustment layer. And if I don't especially like that, I can always, yeah, double click on that. Oh my gosh, would go figure, it worked this time. And then you can work on, oh no it didn't, that brought up the layer mask. I want to bring the histogram back up for the levels, but Huh. Okay, so let's go on to the next step. You should be able to, if your double clicking is working, you should be able to double click on this layer and on this little icon and bring up the levels adjustment layer again, so that, or the adjustment panel again, so that you can adjust that again if you want to do that. See, now that adds a new adjustment layer. We don't want to do that. All right, and there is, so that you can, again, if you wanted to adjust that more, if you wanted to make it a little bit darker, the contrast a little bit greater, you can do that again. Nice option with the adjustment layers. All right, now we're going to work with the sharpen feature. This enhancement is optional. However, it's sometimes necessary for images that have been scanned to digitize them, which can blur them a bit. Sharpening is also a good idea when you want to bump up the readability of text in a photo. So we're going to select the Troy layer, and then we're going to choose Filter and Sharpen. And then I believe we're going to go to Sharpen. And note the very subtle shift in clarity in the image. If you did not catch this the first time, choose Edit and Undo so you can catch it again. I'm going to zoom in so you can see it just a little bit better. Oh, for heaven's sakes, here we go. And you can see just a slight shift of that. Then we want to do a Command or Control S to save your work. And I'm going to go back to the Sharpen more. Now you'll see that that's too sharp. As you see, it brought up all of those little white areas, so I'm going to undo that. And that's sharpening edges. Okay, again, let's save our work. That I've attended some Photoshop conferences in the past, and a lot of photographers indicate that that's their very last step before saving out an image and sending it to print, or saving it for printing at a later date, would be sharpening or unsharp mask. All right, now we're going to do retouch, and I'm going to do a couple of steps into this, and then I'm going to have you work on your own. Clearly this photo has not been treated well over the years. Stains and scratches abound and need to be eliminated. Even though you won't be able to make it absolutely perfect, we can certainly correct some and make a decent start. So we're going to change the tool icons to look more like brushes, so you can more accurately choose Photoshop. So you can work more accurately, we're going to go to Photoshop, and then we're going to go down to Preferences. Sorry. And if you're on a PC, this would be under Edit. We're going to go to Cursors. And then for painting cursors, we're going to choose normal brush tip, which is already chosen. And you might also prefer the other tools to look like crosshairs rather than tool icons. If so, choose the precise option, and you'll see the difference between a standard and a precise, and I'm going to leave them at precise. Now we're going to get the clone stamp tool. S is the quick key for that. And at the left in the options panel, click on the brush thumbnail to open the brush options. Click on the arrow inside a circle in the upper right hand corner to of the drop down menu to open further options. I think we have all the options open that we need. And then we're going to choose to view the brushes with large thumbnails. Need to get this out of the way. Geez, sorry. And the clone stamp tool takes a picture of an area in an image called a sample, which can then be duplicated elsewhere in the image. The brush size determines the size of the sample. So we're going to choose the third brush in the brushes panel. Yeah, I'm not getting the same options as the textbook has, and if that's the same with your drop-down menu, and I'm sure I could find them here if I tried hard enough. Let's see, are these assorted? And rather than spending a great deal of time trying to find those same brushes, I am going to instead check out what options they have up here listed for the size, which is 45 pixels. And I'm just going to fill in those options. And then the hardness is 0, which means it's a very soft brush. We're going to place the clone stamp then over the car body just under the rear view mirror. See figure 621. And then we're going to hold down the Alt or the Option to sample the pixels that we want to use to replace these other ones. So I would say it's right about here. And again, if you hold down your Option if you're on a Mac, Alt if you're on a PC, you'll see this little icon come up. And that, if you click, that's where you've created a sample to use to replace others. Now we're going to position the pointer over the writing, and we're going to click and drag in short strokes over the script to blend it into the background pixels. So I guess we want to get rid of that writing. So again, the rubber stamp, establish your point of origin, and now you can see how we're replacing the pixels of the writing with these other pixels. got too much in there. I'm going to back out here again so I can get some of that dark. And again, the crosshair indicates the relative starting point of what it will continue to sample as you click and drag over the area. Right, and we sampled an area below the mirror, then brushed over the script to eliminate it from the photo. And I would actually work on that just a little bit more. And with the clone stamp, you have to be kind of careful because you don't want it to look so uniform that someone can tell that you've cloned it. And you might want to change the brush size depending on an area that you're sampling and retouching. To do this quickly, you can click on the right and or the left bracket keys on the keyboard, which is just above the return or enter. And the left bracket key decreases the size of the brush, while the right bracket key increases it. And I probably spent just about enough time on this. I will be back in just a moment to demo just a little bit more. Thanks, and I'll be right back.